Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have your doubts, not what I'm about, have your fucking clout. It be raining now, I keep making sound, go another round, bitch I'm legend bound, can't stop me now. You don't wanna fuck with me, a slow burn like a disease.
What is going on, everyone? And in this video I'll be giving you my UFC 275 main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place this Saturday, June 11, 2022, Teixeira versus Procházka. Looking forward to that, but let's go ahead and jump in to the previous card, talk about it just real quick. So obviously I got destroyed 6 and 7, not what I wanted to do. Alexander Volkov getting the victory over Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Yeah, you know, whether or not Rozenstruik was going to come back around and hit him or anything like that, we would have to see, but well, we won't see. So Volkov winning that fight, I know there's a little controversy there, but either way, you don't end up in that position, I guess you could say. So I didn't get that fight right. Had Mozart Evloev winning that fight, so that was a good one. Michael Trizano, he could have won that fight against Lucas Almeida, but he got finished instead. That was a pretty good fight. Karine Silva submitting Poliana Botello, so obviously she's the better grappler, and she was able to get it done in that one. Odie Osborne beating Adashev. You know, I thought Adashev was going to be able to do a little bit more, so unfortunate on that one as well. Alonso Menifield taking on Askar Mazarov. You know, just on the wrong side of a lot of this stuff, Menifield was able to take him down. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, it was just, I was just on the wrong side, and that's just how it goes sometimes. So, unfortunate. 6 and 7, definitely not the best, but I guess it could have been worse. So we'll go ahead and jump into this next one, and hopefully this one we do a lot better. I think the last pay-per-view I did really good, so hopefully, otherwise maybe yeah, maybe I go like 1 in 10 or something. But okay, so let's jump into this fight, and first fight on the main card. So in the first fight on the main card, we have Della Maddalena taking on Ramazan Goretz Emeev. 11-2 for Maddalena, and then for Emeev, he's got a 20-5 record. For Jack, he's coming in with a win over Pete Rodriguez via round 1 KO TKO via punches. And then for Ramazan Emeev, he's coming in this fight with a loss coming off against Danny Roberts via split decision. The one thing I would say about Maddalena is I think overall, as far as like excitement goes, he's probably going to be the one that's going to bring the excitement. He's pretty dangerous on the feet, I would say. He definitely stays aggressive. Really good jab. You know, he's always popping out that jab, really trying to snap it. In his last fight against Pete Rodriguez, who is tearing him up with that. Really picks his shots as well. He's not like a brawler or anything like that. He definitely tries to pick his shots, presses forward, keeps his hands up. So he's pretty technical. And he's not one of these wild guys or anything like that. Definitely stays composed. And you know, when Pete Rodriguez got hurt, I wouldn't say he rushed in like a crazy man. He kind of he definitely finished him, but it wasn't like, you know, sloppy at all. He's just not a sloppy fighter. And you know, he'll stay in the pocket, but he still fights smart. He judges the distance well, moves out of range to land some pretty big shots. He definitely has some good movement. And you know, obviously in this fight against Emeev, he's going to need to defend the takedown. So that's pretty much the one thing I would have to see, whether or not he's able to do effectively, is defend the takedowns. And that's one of those things, right? You could be really great everywhere else, but if you're just not able to defend the takedowns, you might end up losing like a split decision or a unanimous decision because you got taken down 9 times, unless you're badly hurting him on the feet. For Emeev, you know, he's definitely got a low output when it comes to striking, but you know, obviously I think that's just because he prefers to probably grapple, whether it's against the fence or take your opponents down. All fights in UFC, won or lost, are by decision. So, you know, he definitely can land something here and there, but I don't really think he's going for that kind of thing. It's more to get in tight, see if he can get the takedowns. And I would say he's very determined to land the takedown as well. He's not necessarily like diving in for takedowns left and right, but I think it's pretty obvious that he would prefer to get the takedown and do his work on the floor. The one thing I will say, though, he doesn't really trade well against the fence, so he's not going to be one of these guys who's going to be doing well if he's backed up against the fence and he's trading with his opponent. He really likes to go forward and, like I said, close that distance so he can get the grappling going. And, you know, if his opponent is able to defend the takedowns or just keep the fight standing, Emeev's going to start to slow down a little bit because I think he does put a lot into his takedowns, like I said. So this can be an interesting fight. It's like a grappler versus, stand-up grappler versus a boxer kind of thing. But I do think, for me at least, I just feel like Maddalena is going to be able to. I just feel like he's going to be able to keep the fight standing. Maybe, I'm not saying he never gets taken down, but I do think if he can just keep the fight standing just a little bit, he can definitely hurt Emeev here and piece him up over the course of 3 rounds. Like, it could be tough, though. It's definitely going to be one of those things where it could be a tough fight. But I just don't like the volume of Ramazan Emeev. I'm really not confident in that. When you kind of get predictable, I mean, unless you're like Khabib or Islam Makhachev, where you just like are so dominant with the grappling, it doesn't matter if you're predictable because that's where the fight's gonna go. But for Emeev, I just feel like he might get clipped a couple times on the feet, and if he does, it might throw his game off, and then we see Maddalena just kind of piecing him up, defending the takedowns. He might even be able to finish him, but Emeev is definitely tough, which is why he's only had decision wins and losses. He's definitely a tough fighter, so I'm not saying Maddalena's gonna be able to put him out, but I just think if he can defend a couple takedowns, he'll just have the more work, and he'll definitely be able to piece up Emeev for 3 rounds. Emeev, and this could be one of these fights too where Emeev's able to get a takedown every round or something like that, but when the fight is standing, it just doesn't look good. So Maddalena ends up winning a decision, right? Because he's just on the feet. It's just another game. And who cares if Emeev gets a takedown per round when he doesn't really do anything with it. So I'm going to go Jack Della, Maddalena to defeat Ramazan Emeev, and I'll take the win by a decision. I'm going to move on into the next fight, and we've got a flyweight bout between Rogerio, Bontorin, 17-4, 1 no contest, taking on Manel, Starboy, Kape. 17-6 for him. Bontorin, this is, he's not, I just don't think he's going to be able to do too much with Kape unless he's able to like get into a wild exchange and clip him. I just don't really see how he wins this fight over the course of like 3 rounds or even into the second round, because I just don't think his style is going to be effective against Kape, who is going to be the far better, like faster, quicker, and just less like relying on like a couple hooks to kill him. Bontorin is definitely, heavy-handed, good leg kicks. He loads up on his shots, and that's why he has lower volume. But that's kind of what sketches me out here is that, okay, Bontorin can crack Kape, but it's going to get predictable, and I feel like he'll leave himself exposed. He might overreach when he throws some of those power shots and be countered very easily, and I just think it's not going to be a good night for him. Bontorin, he does have good strength. Maybe he tries to go for some takedowns, but he's coming off of was it three losses basically. One of them was a no contest. Oh no, 3 losses and then 1 no contest. So it's definitely not looking good for him. And I believe in that fight that got overturned to a no contest, he failed a drug test. So I mean, you don't really know what's going on with that. And then he loses his next fight via split decision. But he doesn't have the output, and that's kind of the concerning thing here. Yeah, he can get takedowns, but he can also be taken down. So I'm not really worried about Kape not being able to defend a takedown here. Kape's obviously coming off that win over Humagulov, round 1 KO TKO, flatlined him pretty badly. Then before that, he won his fight via flying knee against Odie Osborne, who just fought, so that's a pretty decent win. Against Matthew Nikolai, he lost via split decision, and then against Alexander Pantoja, he lost via unanimous decision. But he got 2 takedowns in that fight. It's just Pantoja was able to land the better, more striking. So yeah, for this one, man, I think Kape, is pretty good, like quick leg kicks, solid chin. He's a very confident fighter. He's definitely going to get in there with him, right? He's going to stay in the range. He's not going to be backing up or running away or anything like that. I think he's going to be able to pop back up if he does get taken down. Really nasty combinations, and he's very patient when he goes for the finish. He's not another one of these guys who's not going to just run over to his opponent with his hands down and just start swinging like a crazy person. Great counters, which is why I think he's going to, if Bontorin starts going for these heavy load up shots, I really do think he's going to get countered pretty badly. Kape, is really good at setting up traps with a lot of his feints. and his movement, right? So he's not, again, not one of these guys where it's very predictable. He's loading up, he's moving, he's going all around. So for Bontorin, unless Bontorin is able to catch him, and when I mean catch him, I mean like early catch him, not like in the second or third round. Unless he's able to do that, I really just don't think he's going to get the victory here. I do think one of these guys will get finished. I could see Bontorin, if he does win, I think it'll be one of those, random, like, Kape doesn't see it coming and then gets caught kind of thing. But I think if Kape wins the fight, I definitely see Kape just kind of beating him up, honestly, and then taking advantage. Maybe Bontorin starts to slow down a little bit, and then boom, he lands a big shot and puts him down. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking is going to happen in this fight. I really like Kape, and I just think overall he's probably going to be the better fighter here. So he's a little bit more well-rounded. So we'll have to see what happens with this one. But I'm going to go Manel, Starboy Kape. I'll take him to defeat Rogerio Bontorin. I'll take him to win by round 2 KO TKO. Let's move on into the third fight on the main card. And we have a women's strawweight bout between Xhang Magnum Weili, 21-3, versus Joanna, 16-4, Jedrzejczyk. That's not her middle name, but for Weili, obviously this is a rematch of their previous fight, which was a crazy fight, an insane fight, just violent fight. One of those fights where you're just like, oh my god, like what's going on with this one? Like, Weili didn't show like the damage that Joanna showed. She was obviously still busted up, but Joanna just had like a hematoma just the size of like, I don't even know. It was like just down bad. It just wasn't not what you want to see when you're fighting, and then look up at the screen, she sees her hematoma and she's like, oh shit. But either way, it was a very great fight, really close fight as well. Arguably though, in that fight, it was interesting because I actually, it was a split decision win, but I actually thought Joanna, she did land more strikes, significant strikes. It could be one of those things where the hematoma, like whether or not someone would admit this or not, but you might just think like damage wise, Weili did the most damage. I don't know, but obviously one of the judges scored the fight 48-47 for Joanna Jedrzejczyk. And so, but she didn't win the fight. So it was a split decision. But it was a close fight, and if you do look, she did land more of the strikes, so I'm not sure exactly, what it was, why she didn't win. But again, it's one of those fights that could go either way. You can't really be mad about it at all. Weili got one takedown in that fight, so maybe that was the difference. I'm not sure. But I do think Weili was landing the heavier shots, right? So Joanna is more of like a volume fighter. She's not going to land like one big shot and take you out, whereas Weili, she'll get in there with you. She's going to definitely try to trade some big shots. She'll eat some shots to land them on you, whereas Joanna kind of needs to break you down via the volume. And she just wasn't able to do that. And I really don't blame her because Weili's very tough. And then obviously you have Weili, who went on to fight twice for the title against Rose Namajunas. First time getting KO'd on the feet via a switch head kick, basically. And then lost to Rose again via split decision, where she had 5 takedowns in that fight. So, but she just, again, I for whatever reason, maybe she just wasn't able to get it done. Lost via split decision. One of the judges thought she did win, so it could go either way when you look at it like that, depending on who's watching the fight. But regardless, I think she's very tough. Weili's definitely really tough. The grappling, maybe she tries to grapple a little bit more in this fight, but Joanna definitely has good takedown defense, so I don't know if she's going to be able to do that. And I don't know if this fight's going to be as crazy as it was last time. I think it will, though, just because when you have two fighters that are willing to just trade, that's the kind of fight you're going to get. So, some people are saying stuff about Joanna taking the time off or whatever, but I do think, how she was in a car accident basically in that fight, and taking some time off, I think is a pretty good thing. Weili doesn't have that time off, so she might be the fresher fighter at least, and she fought Rose twice. So, but then at the same time, she's not undefeated. Actually, she has 3 losses, but I think the other loss, I don't think it was like a legit one. So like she's not like undefeated in the UFC anymore, so she knows she can lose, which could hurt her confidence a little bit. Whereas Joanna, she's definitely lost before, and she's coming back. She's got 2 years, I think. Yeah, so she's got like 2 years off, so she's ready to come back, and she's got a good mindset, and maybe she approaches the fight a little bit different. Maybe she definitely tries to I really don't know what she's gonna try to do though, because Weili is so tough. But I do think maybe, Joanna was able to hurt Weili in some of those exchanges. So I think it's another stand-up fight. I really don't see it going to the ground because I think Joanna can defend the takedowns. And I just play a little bit of smarter game. Maybe she slows the fight down on her side too, right? Maybe she doesn't go for it so crazy. Maybe she tries to get Weili to gas out a little bit. But yeah, I think both fighters might play it a little bit safer. Not go for broke early on, and maybe tone down the aggression at least early on to see if they can do something different. Because if it's another war, Weili's definitely gonna tag her a lot more. And what if Joanna gets another hematoma and all this stuff? So Joanna can't be trading with her like that. I don't think. She's definitely got to fight this fight a little bit more technical, slow it down a little bit. And it might not be the most exciting thing for fans. I still do think it's gonna be more exciting than Carla Esparza versus Rose Namajunas. I'm not saying it's going to tone down to that, but I do think it might not be as crazy in the sense of them just throwing down like nothing matters. I don't think they want to do that. I mean, who would want to do that again, right? Let's get another car accident. They probably want to finish the fight this time, right? No one wants to go 5 rounds and get into a car accident. I think Joanna said she wants to finish the fight as well. So I think if Joanna can go for some more leg kicks to Weili, maybe she can break her down even a bit. I mean, both were having success with the leg kicks last time, but I think maybe Joanna was having a little bit more success early on with the leg kicks, and then Weili started to kick her. So I wonder if Joanna will try to go for more leg kicks, break her down a little bit, keep her distance a little bit more, still try to piece her up, but just not get into such wild exchanges because, Weili can definitely land some big shots, man. It's just not, she's willing to do that kind of thing. So yeah, I would say for Joanna, slow it down, fight a little bit more technical, go at the legs, go to the body, and don't just like pocket exchange and just bite down on your mouth guard and try to go for the KO. So we'll have to see what happens, but it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be another tough fight as well for both fighters, and it's gonna be a great fight for the fans. Maybe not as exciting as the first time, but I do think still exciting regardless. So I'm gonna go Joanna Jedrzejczyk. I just feel like if she, I'm interested in seeing what the 2 years has done for her. I'm interested in seeing her game plan for this one. And so I really think that Joanna can get it done, although it's going to be another tough outing for both fighters. So I'll go Joanna Jedrzejczyk to defeat Zhang Weili. I'll take her to win by a decision. We move on into the co-main event of the evening. We have Valentina Shevchenko, Bullet Valentina Shevchenko, 22-3, taking on Talia Santos, 19-1. And so this will be an interesting fight, and I think it'll be a little bit more competitive than a lot of her last fights for Valentina Shevchenko, only because I think Talia Santos has a great ground game. And, maybe it won't do anything, right? Maybe it doesn't matter if she has a great ground game. And Valentina Shevchenko will finish her again or something, which is, definitely a possibility. But I do think, Talia Santos, I like the aggression that she brings. Right, so I like that she has that striking ability. She puts people at the end of her punches. It's like she's fighting a little bit long, right? And she stays aggressive, pushes the pace early, gets in your face. Really good power as well. So that's something to look out for. And I think it could definitely be competitive, maybe early on, especially when it goes to the floor, just because Santos, I don't think Shevchenko is going to be taking her down early on unless she hurts her. But I could see Santos trying to tie her up, put her to the floor, and see what she can do there. I think that would be a pretty good move for her. So we'll have to see, right? So Talia Santos against Roxanne Modafferi got 5 takedowns. Against Molly McCann, 5 takedowns. So she's capable of getting those takedowns. Now, whether or not she can do it against Valentina, that's a different story, right? But I do think she's going to be probably a little bit more competitive than some of her last fights. And that doesn't mean that she's going to win or it's going to be competitive and like, Shevchenko's like winning via split decision. But I do think maybe not as quick, or like you won't just see the fight as fast and go, oh, here we go again, right? It's just another person that's going to get destroyed. She might eventually get destroyed, but I don't think it'll be like, within 2 minutes or like, oh, here we go, right? For Santos, Yeah, the striking is just like we saw against Joanna Wood, right? Submission round number one, she clips her pretty bad twice. Like that was pretty good to watch, just because I mean her striking just was a lot more. 98 strikes to 11 strikes, 3 takedowns. It's still not someone that you want to take for granted, right? So for Shevchenko, she's gonna have to go in here. I would say fight technical, really, how she pretty much does. Fight technical. I still think Shevchenko's gonna have that speed advantage. I think Santos is definitely faster than like Lauren Murphy, for example, or even Jessica Andrade, maybe, because she's not coming in there with some wild hooks and all that. Even though Shevchenko was able to take her down for 7 times, but I think for Shevchenko, she'll try to keep this fight standing, try to pick her apart on the feet first, see what she can do. If she's fighting technical and kind of lighting her up, maybe she goes in for a takedown. But Santos could come out here a little bit too aggressive, right? And then Shevchenko's just countering her, because we've seen that too against Shevchenko. She likes to counter her opponents as well. So yeah, I mean, like I'm saying, it's really not. I'm really not worried about it, but I do think Santos can be a decent challenge, right? And I also think maybe Santos lands something crazy, right? And that's always a thing. We saw that with Amanda Nunes. We saw that with Cyborg. It just takes one punch or a couple punches to just, there it goes. It's not going to win this fight anymore. And then maybe Santos jumps in on a rear naked choke or something crazy like that. But I think overall, the way Shevchenko fights, it's not wild. She's willing to like have a point fight for 5 rounds. And when was her last? She defeated Jennifer Maia via unanimous decision. Liz Carmouche via unanimous decision. Joanna Jedrzejczyk via unanimous decision. And she took Joanna down 5 times. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say for Shevchenko to get the takedown that early, just because Santos might be like, ooh, that's pretty good. Like, let's see what you can do here. But I do think I can just see her kind of, kickboxing fight with her early on, and then seeing what Santos has on the feet, slowly just taking over that aspect, and then maybe she hurts her, takes it into the 3rd, 4th round, and then is able to get a finish in the 4th round. So yeah, I think this fight goes a little bit longer, but I still have to obviously side with Shevchenko, just because Santos is really gonna have to do something early on and disrupt the whole vibe of this fight for Shevchenko to like lose, right? I don't think Shevchenko's gonna just like lose a decision. I think she has to get clipped. I think she has to get into a weird situation, and I just don't see that happening here. So I'm gonna go Valentina Shevchenko. I'll take her to defeat Talia Santos via KO TKO in round number 4. And then we move on into the main event of the evening, and we have a pretty solid main event. Glover Teixeira at 33-7, taking on Jiri BJP Procházka. And for your Glover Teixeira, he's coming off of his win, in which he won the title over Jan Blachowicz, and that was a crazy win for him, because he's definitely an older fighter in the UFC, and just an older fighter for fighting. Definitely a lot of people are not his age when it comes to fighting inside of anything at that matter, and being at the very top is definitely impressive as well. So his birthday is October 28th, 1979, and in Procházka's is 1992. So this is going to be a great fight. And Teixeira is like one of these guys. Teixeira is one of these guys where he goes in, he can get clipped by like some of the best hardest hitters, and then he's shooting in on the double leg and taking you down, and then it's just over. He can get rocked like that badly and still come back, and he just goes to like what he knows, right? And it's the ground game, and it's the grappling, and then he just makes these people look like, oh, well, didn't have a ground game. So he's coming off that win over Jan Blachowicz, and I would say when he got those 2 takedowns in that fight, I would say he did it pretty easily, right? It wasn't really like Blachowicz was fighting hard for them. I would say he pretty much got those takedowns easy and just made it look like an easy fight. And then he's tapping. Blachowicz tapped. I think it looked like he tapped. Like as soon as he got the rear naked choke, and he tapped. And maybe he's like, I'm not dealing with that. Against Thiago Santos. Santos got a knockdown. Next thing you know, Glover Teixeira's rear naked choke. Same thing. with Anthony Smith. He's able to just take him down, beat his ass. Nikita Krylov won that fight via split decision against Ion Kutalaba. That got a little bit awkward, but then he's winning that fight via rear naked choke. Carl Robertson drops him. Then next thing you know, he's arm triangling him. Against Corey Anderson. See, this is like where it gets weird, right? Because we've seen Corey Anderson definitely get knocked out in the UFC and all that, but against Corey Anderson and against Glover Teixeira, right? So Anderson gets 7 takedowns against him, and he loses the fight via unanimous decision. So it's just weird stuff like that where Teixeira was just never able to use his own game, and it was a pretty low volume fight. Against Gustafsson, Alexander Gustafsson. He got knocked out by him, 2 knockdowns. Against Jared Cannonier, he won that fight unanimous decision. Against Anthony Johnson, he got knocked out. So yeah, but in his previous fights, he's definitely capable of getting knocked out. It's just that this dude finds a way to win and get the fight to where he needs it to get him. Very durable, as I said. Like, he gets rocked, but he's still able to recover, bring the fight to the ground. Great boxing in close, nasty power in close as well with his hooks. It's not a guy you want to be trading with inside the pocket. Grappling game's on another level. Very comfortable on the ground. It's almost like he could be rocked, and then as long as the fight's on the ground, he's like, "Oh, I know what to do now," and then he figures it out. He's willing to trade. Teixeira's willing to trade. Now, in this fight, I don't think that's going to be a great thing because Procházka is probably going to be willing. Well, obviously, he's going to be willing to trade. And that's not a guy you want to be just exchanging with because you don't know what's going to go. This guy just spinning elbow KOs him in the middle of the cage or something. For Procházka, spinning back elbow, round 2 KO TKO via dominate raise. That was nasty, man. And he did get taken down in that fight. And that's kind of like what I'm saying is he can't get taken down in this fight because Teixeira is not Dominic Reyes, right? So it's not someone that you want to be getting taken down by. But maybe he pops back up. Maybe he doesn't really care about Teixeira and he pops back up and next thing you know, he's killing him. Or maybe he doesn't even need to get to the ground and Procházka's just like uppercutting him to death. So yeah, for Procházka, very, very unorthodox, which is a positive and a minus just because you don't know what you're going to get with him, but then at the same time, he might leave himself exposed to an attack or a position that Teixeira can take advantage of him. And it's like he's baiting his opponent when he does all these crazy things because like you think something's going to come at you, so you block it, and then he's going for something else, right? And then he's doing something else. So he's always changing his attack. You really can't prepare for him. He doesn't have that style of like, oh, I'm a boxer or something. Like I said, in his last fight against Dominic Reyes, he did get taken down, and there was like a split second where it was a little bit awkward, and maybe someone like Teixeira doesn't even let that happen. Next thing he's strangling you, so that was a little weird. Maybe that's why I'm saying like I don't think he's gonna try his hardest not to even get taken down in this fight. Procházka will definitely eat some shots to give some shots. He'll stay in that pocket. He'll be willing to trade with you. He likes to make it a dogfight. He likes to just try to get the fight to the point where like both of you are just dying, and then he's gonna just try his hardest to go for like all these crazy things, even if he's getting lit up as well. And I think early on, Procházka is probably gonna be the faster fighter. He's gonna be the one that's gonna get more aggressive on Teixeira, but it's just a matter of whether or not Procházka is gonna be able to. It's really gonna just matter whether or not Procházka is gonna be able to finish him early, because I just don't think late as the fight goes on I can just see Teixeira getting a takedown and then submitting him. Teixeira's been in this game before, right? So maybe it's like a spin, maybe it's like a jumping flying knee to the dome and then he kills Teixeira on the feet, right? So it's such an iffy fight because Procházka is just such a like you just don't know what you're gonna get with him. And I can definitely see Procházka hurting him Teixeira, but if he hurts Teixeira, he can't run in on him like that and try to go for the finish because Teixeira is going to take him down. If he doesn't KO him flatlined, right? I guess maybe Procházka is preparing to KO him as in like, I'm flatlining this dude. I'm not going to let him even have that opportunity. So I can see Procházka winning via like a flash KO. But as the fight goes on, yeah, I don't really see this fight going to decision either just because I don't really feel like when Teixeira with the ground game, finish via submission, and then Procházka, he's not really trying to win a decision. He's trying to put you out. And so it's going to be an interesting fight, and I think it's probably decided within the first 3 rounds. I don't think it goes to the 4th and 5th round, because I think by then we'll just kind of know who's going to die. But a lot of people are counting out Teixeira on this one. I'm really leaning towards Teixeira just because it's almost like a safe pick, right? Because you kind of know what you're going to get with him, right? You kind of know, like, if the fight goes here, this can happen. If the fight stands up, you're going to have a problem with his boxing and close, his power and close. And then if Teixeira is like getting pieced up on the feet, well, then he can take you to the ground. So unless Procházka does something early on that's like, oh, right, and that just has to come by way of just I think he has to land something crazy, like it's like a flying knee or a spinning back kick to the head or something like that, to where it's just disruptive to Teixeira, and then Teixeira just kind of, oh shit, like, and then he gets pieced up and he dies. So man, it's a tough fight to pick. It really is, because if I go with Teixeira, but then next thing you know, he just get flash KO'd on the feet, and then it's like, okay. But then if you go with Procházka and you're like, maybe he's gonna flash KO him, maybe he's gonna do all this crazy stuff, maybe he's gonna be able to just pressure him and get in tight, spinning elbow, defend the takedowns, and then he just gets submitted in like the first round, and then it's like, well, he didn't get to do anything. It's one of those fights, right? But I'll go Glover to share on this one, just because I'm pretty confident in his skill set, and I kind of know what I'm getting, so I guess it's kind of like a safe pick. Even though I think a lot of people are going with Procházka, but I don't want to count out Teixeira, man. It's like, I'm not saying like Procházka's gonna like just get steamrolled by Teixeira. I still think it's a close fight, but I just feel like if Procházka makes one little mistake and he's getting taken down, I just think Teixeira is gonna take over the fight. So I'm gonna go Glover Teixeira. He may get flash KO'd. He might just get flying kneed in the first round, but actually, the craziest thing would be if Procházka submits him. I mean, that's really what the craziest thing would be. But we'll find out. So I'm gonna go Glover Teixeira on this one. I think the first round we get a little bit of a feel out period. Maybe Procházka's going for some crazy stuff, get in his face, do his kung fu, and then in the second round, Procházka maybe he drops him, right, and then Teixeira, and then he gets a little crazy, jumps in there, Teixeira takes him down, and then he's able to get the submission, or nothing crazy happens, and Teixeira is just able to grapple him in that second round, take him down, and then get a submission victory. So I'm going to go Glover Teixeira to defeat Jiri Procházka. I'll take him to win by submission in round number 2. And so that'll do it, guys, for my UFC 275 main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place this Saturday. And it's going to be a pretty solid main card and, a pretty solid UFC pay-per-view in Singapore. So June 11th, 2022. Leave your comments down below. Hit the subscribe button. And you know what? I'll see you guys in the next video.